So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we're continuing with the series of going through some GCSE Maths higher big mark questions taken from some past papers. Now as always there'll be a copy of the question paper that we go through in the description below for you to download and have an attempt at before watching through this video. I'll also include the mark scheme so you can see alternate ways of getting the answer that are different from the one that we go through in this video. So looking at the topics that the 5 questions that we're going to go through in this video, as you can see they are quite unique in terms of what is expected in the question. So basically there's not much mixed topics going on with these 5 questions. So question 1 is equation of a circle, which is always related to some form of geometry with straight lines. Question 2 is circle circumference, speed in units. Question 3 is direct proportion for 4 marks, and then we've got volume of a sphere and a cone, which again usually go hand in hand, and then we've got a similar shape question involving similar area and volume. Now if you've not had an opportunity to print off and have an attempt at these questions, then all you need to do is just simply pause the video and have an attempt at it and then unpause as we go through the answer. So looking at question 1, it says the diagram shows the circle x squared plus y squared equals 10. P lies on the circle and has an x ordinate of 1. The tangent at P intersects the x-axis at Q, and the question is asking us to work out the coordinates of Q. Now in order to work out the coordinates of Q, we need to work out the equation of PQ first. And in order to do that, we need to work out the gradient of PQ and a coordinate, which in this case is going to be P, because Q is the actual answer that we're needing. So in terms of the steps to work this question out, what I need to do is I need to work out P. I then need to work out the gradient of OP. I then need to work out the gradient of PQ because it's going to be perpendicular. Then I need to work out the equation of PQ, and then I need to work out Q. And I do that by substituting y equals 0, because for any x-axis intercept y equals 0. So let's get started on just that. So looking at part 1, we need to find P. Now we know that P has got an x ordinate of 1, and we know that it lies on the circle. So here what I need to do is just sub x equals 1 into x squared plus y squared equals 10. So to do that, I'm going to end up with 1 squared plus y squared equals 10. So y squared equals 9. So y is going to equal plus or minus 3. Now we know that P is above the x-axis, so y is going to equal 3. So the coordinate of P is going to be 1, 3. So from this, what I can then do is I can then work out the gradient of OP. So if I just draw a straight line, and looking at that point, the height is going to be 3, the base is going to be 1, so then the gradient of OP is going to be 3 over 1, and it's going to be positive 3 because the line it's going has got positive gradient. Now as OP is a radius and it meets the tangent of PQ, we know it's going to be perpendicular, so therefore the gradient of PQ is going to be the negative reciprocal, so it's going to be a third. Then to work out the equation of the line PQ, well we know that m is going to equal minus a third, and we know the coordinate of P, which is 1, 3. So then using y minus y1 equals mx minus x1, I get y minus 3 equals minus a third x minus 1. Then expanding the brackets out or multiplying by 3, it's entirely up to you what you do at this stage. To be fair, we could leave it as that. Then at step 5, all we then need to do is then substitute y equals 0 into step 4, whatever that may be. So here I've got 0 minus 3 equals a third x plus a third. So then if I take the 3 over to the side, or take the third over, so I end up with minus 3 and a third equals minus x over 3. So that then becomes minus 10 over 3 equals minus x over 3, in which I can get rid of the 3's, and so if minus x equals minus 10, so x equals 10. So the coordinate of Q is going to be 10, 0. Moving on to question 2, it says that the distance from the Earth to the Sun is 93 million miles. Assume it takes 365 days for the Earth to travel once around the Sun. The Earth travels in a circle with the Sun at the centre. Work out the average speed of the Earth in miles per hour. Now with this, the average speed is equal to the total distance over the total time. Now in terms of the distance, well, if this is the Sun, so let me just try and do a bit of sketching here. So here's the Sun and here is Earth. And let's just stick a bit of green in there. There we go. And we know that it's going to be a circle. So it looks something like that. Now it says that the distance from the Earth to the Sun, so this distance here is 93 million. So that's going to be a radius of the circle is being 93 times 10 to the power of 6. Now don't worry too much about it not being in standard form, but that is 93 million. It's 93 and then 10 to the power 6 is million. So then to work out the circumference, so the total distance equals the circumference of the circle. So it's going to be 2 times pi times 93 times 10 to the power of 6. And remember, that is just one number. So then that's going to give me an answer of what it is. So that is going to be 186 times 10 to the power of 6 times pi. So that's the total distance. The total time, well, that's 365 days, but we want hours. So hours in a day is going to be 24, and we've got 365 days, so hours in a year is going to be 24 times 365, which gives me an answer of 8760 hours. So then from this, what we've then got, that's the total time, this is the total distance, so the average speed in miles per hour is going to be 186 times 10 to the power 6 times pi all over 8760. And if I type that all into my calculator, I get an answer of 66,705.0, and that's to 1 decimal place. Moving on to B, it says it actually takes 365 and a quarter days for the Earth to travel once around the Sun. And the question is, how does this affect your answer? So basically it means it's because the denominator is going to be increasing, it means the speed is going to be slower. So the speed will decrease. There we go, that should be enough for the 1 mark. Then moving on to question 3, it says y is directly proportional to the root of x. Work out the value of a. Now sometimes direct proportion questions are written in a table form, but basically what this is saying is when x equals 36, y equals 2. And it's basically saying find a when y equals 5. So let's first go through the notions of direct proportion. So the first thing we want to do is write this opening statement using maths notation. So y is proportional to the root of x. I swap the proportion symbol with equals k. I then substitute my known values of x and y, so that's going to be 30, no it's not, it's going to be 2 equals k root 36, so 2 equals 6k, so k is going to equal 2 over 6, which is 1 over 3. So then the formula then is going to be y equals the root of x over 3, or a third of root x. Now from this, all I've then got to do is now substitute y equals 5. So I've got 5 equals the cube root of x over 3. So 15 equals root x. So x equals 15 squared, which is 225. Then moving on to question 4, it says that a bowl is a hemisphere with a radius of 6. Water fills 2/5 of the volume of the bowl. The water is poured into a hollow cone. The depth of the water in the cone is 12 centimeters. And we've got the formulas there. And the question is asking us to work out the radius of the surface of the water in the cone. So let me just go back to this important bit of information here. So what we need to first do is work out what the volume of the hemisphere is going to be, and then work out 2/5 of it. So for this, let's first of all do just that. So the volume of the bowl, and that's going to be looking at the volume of a sphere, which is 4/3 pi r cubed. Now because it's a hemisphere, I'm going to divide all of that by 2. So working that out, I'm going to get 4/3 times pi times 6 cubed, all divided by 2, and that gives me an answer of 144 pi. Now you could work out what the decimal equivalent is, but I'm just going to leave it in terms of that. Now I then need to work out the volume of the water, which is 2/5 of the bowl. So from that I then need to work out what 2/5 of 144 pi, and that gives me an answer of 288 over 5 pi. Now again, you could write your decimals, but I'm going to leave it in terms of pi because I know I'm not finished with it. Then moving on to the cone, well, the formula for the cone is 1/3 times pi times r squared times h. Now I know that h is 12, and we know that the radius is what I'm trying to find. But we also know that this equals the volume, which the volume is 288 over 5. So let me just substitute those numbers in. So I've got 1/3 times pi times r squared times by 12, and that all equals 288 over 5 pi. Now from this, let me just neaten it all up. So if I convert all these into fractions, I can neaten up the left hand side. So I've got 12 pi r squared all over 3 equals 288 pi over 5. And then all I need to do is just do some cancelling. So here the pi cancels out, and then I can do a bit of cross multiplying. So that's going to be 60 r squared equals 3 times 288, which is, now this is going to be on a calculator paper, but I don't know why I'm doing it without using non-calculator methods. So r squared equals 864 over 60, and if I square root that on the calculator, I'm going to get an answer of, so that equals, r equals the root of 684 over 60. So r equals 72 over 5 rooted, and that as a decimal is 14.4. Then moving on to our last question. It says that 2 boxes are made with card. The boxes are similar cuboids. The smaller box has a height of 32 centimeters. It takes 44% more card to make the larger box. Work out the height of H of the larger box. So for this, what we need to work out is that the volume scale factor, so if it's 44% bigger, then the scale factor is going to be 1.44, because that is a decimal multiplier of increasing something by 44%. So therefore then, the length scale factor is going to be the cube root of 1.44, which gives us an answer of 1.2. So from this then, to work out H, so H equals, and it's going to be 32 multiplied by 1.2, and that gives us a H value of 38.4 centimeters, and there is my answer.